All right. Lesson 8.1, there's a lot of information in here. Usually the first lesson in each chapter, obviously there's a lot of information because that kind of sets the stage for the rest of the lessons. So there's a lot. The good news is most of this you already know. It's based off chapter 7, which is good. Okay, the only portion that's going to be new here is the graphing portion. Okay. Now, this is where we're talking about we have a balance scale. Remember we talked about a balance scale? Okay, now it's tilted one way or the other. Okay. That's not going to help. No, it's not helping. Hang on a minute. Okay, so in your book, you have this page, which will be really important to you. Okay, talking about the inequality signs. Okay, so you have less than, greater than, which you should be familiar with those. Okay, but the words are more important today because we need to be able to write, just like 7.1, writing an equation, we need to write inequalities. Okay, so you got to make sure that you get the right inequality sign that is appropriate. Now, I'm not sure that have you worked with less than or equal to or greater than or equal to? Have you worked with those signs at all? You have? Most of you? Okay, that's good. Those are the ones that are on the right. Okay, so those are the most common inequality signs. And in your class resources, some of you have already found out, I think it's open now, that there is a inequalities cheat sheet in there for you to use, which is good. And you can use that at any time. It's highly recommended. All right. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that that's going to be an important piece of paper, or page, I should say, going forward. Okay, so writing inequalities. Again, very similar to 7.1. All right. Key words there are is less than. Okay, everything else should be familiar to you from chapter 7. But now we have to deal with the inequality signs. These words do not mean equal. Okay, so now you got to be thinking signs that look like this, right? Or even not equal to. Okay, those are the signs that we're interested in this chapter. Okay, so based off the words, right? This should be the only thing that's really new to you. Okay, is less than. Which way does that go? Does that go that way? We voting for one or we voting for two? What do you think? Go ahead, just what do you think? Two? I see two. I see one, two, two. Okay, so we know that a number C, right? And they give you the variable here, so we're dealing with C, is less than, you are correct, 2 goes that way. And now we have C is less than 4. Okay, now again, what's hard to sometimes imagine is this is a this is a mathematical sentence right here. Right? We would say C, and we plug in the inequality words, is less than 4. Okay? The key here is if you get the sign going the right way, you're in great shape. If you get the sign going the wrong way, you are not as we're not in good shape. All right. Ah. All right, kind of a longer one here. Keywords are is greater than, and don't forget this, or equal to. Okay, so we know a number, right? K plus 5, so we know what that looks like. K plus 5, right? That's from lesson 7-1. Okay, and again, the highlighted part is what we're dealing with today when it comes to inequalities. If K plus 5 is greater than or equal to, which means that sign has to be going that way, equal to 8. Okay, let's talk about this sign right here. Do you see that below the greater than sign? Okay, that is what we could say that's like half of an equal sign. Is that right? Okay, which means the expression on the left can equal 8, right? It's allowed to be equal to 8. Okay, if we had K plus 5 is greater than 8, then our first answer here on the left under the expression could be what? Be careful here. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead. What are you going to say? Come on. What are you going to say? 9? 9. Okay, that's the most common answer. Okay, because we're dealing with whole answers, but that's not necessarily the case. Isn't this the correct answer? Could be. Yes, that is correct. Okay, and I just want you to keep track of that because when we get down the road, they don't always have to be whole answer or whole number. Okay, the next biggest number is 8 and 1/10. That's bigger than 8. Okay, and for that matter, I mean, you can get as small as you want and you can keep going. That would be an appropriate answer as well. Okay, but right now we are dealing with whole numbers, but just be aware when we get to the number line part of it. Okay, we're going to be dealing with tenths of numbers. Okay, everybody good there? All right, and then these, the one that I'm about to put up is, and I'll show you the hardest wording that we have, because those are pretty easy. I mean, you should know those, to be honest with you. All right, let's try this one. Okay. Excuse me. This is one of the harder ones. I'm not sure why, but through the years, this is one of them. I'll show you the next one here in a minute. Okay, we should know what 4 times the number q looks like. What does that look like? 4q, very good. Okay, we've learned that it's not q4 anymore. All right, it's 4q. Okay, is at most, meaning it can't go over 16. Okay, 4 times something is at most 16. Can it be equal to 16? Yes. So we need one of these symbols. It can be 16, but at most it can only be 16. So again, are we dealing with 1? Or are we dealing with 2? Hold up a finger. What do you think? All right. All right, very good. That is correct. At most. Okay, it can be less. It can be equal to. But at most, it can be 16. Good job. Okay, just keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, that is one of the harder phrases that children make a mistake on. Okay, and the other one would look like this. Okay, again, this is the wording that we're looking for our inequalities today. A number z divided by 2, so we know what that looks like. Z divided by 2. I know, fascinating assignment. Z divided by 2 is at least. So again, are we looking for that? Or are we looking for that? We're looking for 1. Are we looking for 2? What do you think? Hold up your finger, 1 or 2. Really? We are looking for number 1. That is correct. Okay. That's good stuff. Okay, but keep in mind though, is at most and is at least are the two boo-boos that most people make mistakes. See, so I mean that's just a combination again of a lot of 7, and the wording here for our inequalities is what you need to pay attention to. Okay, and again, the inequality signs in your book are on page 330. And they're also in your class resources for you to reference. All right, everybody go to writing them. We good? Looks so. Yeah, looks like we are. All right, here, let's try one. How about that? How about you do this one? All right. Give you a couple seconds to write the inequality for that one. All right, what do you got? Brady, what do you got? Is that what you want? That is correct. Very good. Very good. All right, everybody okay with those? All right, let's talk about solution of an inequality. We do know that in the algebra world, when you find an answer, we call that a solution. And now that we have an unbalanced scale, can we have more than one answer? What do you think? Yeah? Yeah, we can now. We can have more than one answer. Okay, we'll start off easy here. Okay, well, let's define this first, I guess. This is the value Here we go. All right, so it's the value that makes the inequality true. Okay, we've done these before in 7.1 and 7.2, right? They give you the inequality here. X plus 1 is greater than 7. They give you that the value of, of X is 8, so you plug in 8. And you get 9 is, oops. Oopsie poopsie. All right, 9 is greater than 7. Obviously, that is true. Okay. So when they give you, obviously, the value of the variable, you plug it in, the inequality, just like we did with your equations. You plugged it in the equation to see if it was true. So far, so good. Okay, so we have 7y is less than 20. Oh boy. Sorry about that. Hang on a minute. Made a boo-boo. I wanted 27 there. Sorry. Okay, so we plug in our value, 7, 28. Now, 28 is not less than 27. Watch this. We draw a line through it. 28 is not less than 27. So 4 is not a solution to the inequality. So far, so good. Okay. Let's talk about a solution set. Okay, so when you have more than one answer, which we're going to run across that here in a minute, all of those answers they're going to call them a solution set because it's a set of numbers. Right? If we get one answer, it's called a solution in the world of algebra. If we have more than one, fancy, they add the word set at the end of it. It's called a solution set. All right, this is new. We want to graph our inequalities. Couple markings that we need to, we have an open dot, and we have a closed dot. The open dot represents something that is not a solution. A closed dot represents something that is a solution. All right, we good so far? Those are important in the graphing world here. Okay, so if we have the inequality G is greater than 2. So we have to have a number line. I'm just making a generic one here. Okay, so the first determination you have to make is, are we going to use an open dot or a closed dot? And how do you know? Anybody know? Think about your symbols. I'll come back to the screen in a minute. Right? We got these symbols that you know of. Which ones do you think mean open dot? Nobody? What do you think, Jen? Say it again. These here? The top ones. Oh, this. No. Open dot are these. Closed dot are those. Might want to write this down because I don't believe this is in your book. Okay, so going back here, G is greater than 2. So we're going to put an open dot on the graph on 2. Now, we're not done yet because we have to represent all of the solution set, all of the answers per se, that satisfy G is greater than 2. Is that going to the right of the dot or to the left of the dot? To the right, okay? Here's how you do this. Gotta watch. So after you determine open dot, closed dot, this is what you do. This is what we call this. You thicken in the line, is what it's called. Because you have to represent which way all of the solution set is going. Okay, so you take your pencil on the edge of the circle, on the edge of the dot, you thicken in the line going the way that it goes. You also thicken in the arrow at the end because is 4 the last answer? No. Is 5 the last answer? No. It goes on forever, doesn't it? In that direction. Okay, so you thicken in the line going to the right or to the left, whichever way satisfies your inequality. That is what your graph should look like. Now, we already talked about graphing lines, right? Do these need to be uniform? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Your line needs to be uniform. You don't always have to have a 0. You can go by 2s, you can go by 1s, you can go by 5s, you can go by 10s. Okay? How many tick marks? Remember, these are called tick marks right there. How many of those should you have on your line? Anybody remember from the beginning of the year? Ready? That's pretty good. You should have 6 to 10 of those. Okay? Don't just put 2 and take it one way or the other. Don't do that. Okay? You should at least have 6 to 10 tick marks on your line. Okay? Do you have to have negatives? No. No, not if you're dealing with something that's in the 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, and higher. You don't have to have negatives. You don't have to have a 0. Okay, but something appropriate along those lines. Okay, how about this one? There, this one I went by 5. Okay, open dot or closed dot? Closed dot on what number? Okay, it's always on the one that they give you in the inequality, right? So here you're going to, on the line, now, I will tell you this. Don't ask me why, but one of the harder things for you wonderful people to do is to draw an open dot or a closed dot. If it's an open dot, make sure that your dot is open. If it is a darkened in closed dot, you better darken it in and make sure that it's closed. Okay? Because sometimes you get in the habit of going like that. Look up on the board. This right here, and you're like, oh, is that open or closed? You're like, oh, it's, I don't know. It's open. Listen, if it's open or closed, make it open or make it closed. Make sure it's clear which way it's going. Okay, just an FYI there. Okay, so if h is less than or equal to, which means that the value, the solution set includes 5, that's why we darkened it in. Am I going to the right or the left here? Which way am I thickening in the line, right or left? To the, I heard left and I heard a couple rights. Again, don't forget to put the arrow at the end. Some of you are going to forget to do that. Okay, the solution set goes beyond the end of the number line here. So you have to thicken in that arrow. That is what your graphs would look like. So far, so good. Try one on your own. All right, try that one. You're graphing x is greater than 2. Open dot, closed dot. Open dot on 2. Going which way? To the right. Okay, that's what it should look like. Okay, last one. Bless you. Open dot or closed dot? Closed dot on 1? On -1. Which way we going? Here's the solution set. Okay, when you thicken in the line, you can think of those. That's the solution set that you are coloring in or thickening in. Okay. All right. So a combination of chapter 7 there with writing them, and then the graphing portion is the new part of this. Okay, so this is 8.1. We're going to add to this tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. It's going to get a little bit more interesting. All right, so everything is in the book. You're going to do 5 to 45, the odds. Okay, so you're going to need some paper here because you're going to have to graph some inequality.